Good afternoon, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Blues Backstage here at the Baton Rouge Blues Festival. My name's Herman Fusilier. It's a pleasure to be back here for the second year in a row, and I always look forward to doing these interviews here at the festival and let you know this stage is brought to you by the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities, which is really important. So first guest this afternoon, Mr. Lowdown Brown, who just got off stage and came for the interview with us. Good afternoon, Mr. Brown. How are you, sir?
I'm doing just fine, just fine.
You were telling me earlier this is your second year in a row coming to Baton Rouge, right?
This is the second year in a row. I was here last year, not under my own name, but with the Music Maker Review. And same stage. We finished up and the skies opened up with rain. But we finished just in time.
Yeah, the rain can't stop the blues.
That's right.
Well, you're down the road in Houston, but you've been performing for a long time. How long has it been now?
Well, actually, I've been involved in music most of my life. My mother and father both musicians, and just grew up playing music anyway. But as far as on the blues scene, probably since 1981.
81, yeah.
It moved from Chicago to Houston, and got involved in a lot of different bands and situations, and I've had my own band for many years. So it's just been an evolving project.
Yeah.
And now that I'm hooked up with Music Makers Foundation, I have several projects going, recording, and I just finished a video.
Okay.
That was kind of fun. Downtown Houston, half the video, and then the other half of it was in the studio. So that should be coming out in not too many weeks. I think they'll probably have that out.
Nice.
And also there's an album to be released, I believe, in April. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, yeah. So you got a lot happening with video, album, things are going good for you.
I'm starting to stay a little busy now, thanks to, like I said, the Music Maker Foundation. We went to Colorado last year, Telluride, Colorado, and that was a first for me. Being up in that high of altitude, trying to sing is something else. But yeah, I'm involved in everything that I can get into.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's looking good.
Yeah. Well, how did you manage singing in the mountains? How'd you work it out?
Well, what you have to do is just kind of pace yourself, because you feel that oxygen start to run out, and you just kind of step back from the mic a little bit and play a little instrumental and come back into it, because you could easily collapse if you're not used to that type of altitude.
Yeah.
But it worked out.
Good. Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Didn't have to have any oxygen or anything after.
They were offering me oxygen. Okay. I didn't need it.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, with such a long career, what's been some highlights for you through the years?
Well, coming up in the early years in Houston, like I was telling you, I had a band, and we opened for shows like Bobby Bland, Z.Z. Hill, Johnny Taylor, Sister Sledge, and bands like that. We would open for them in the Houston area. So that was a really a fun time, just to work with some professional artists and learn a little bit more. So that's probably one of the highlights. I got to meet B.B. King one time, and he was always one of my guitar heroes growing up. So that was a highlight to meet him, shake his hand.
That's neat. Did he get to hear you play?
He didn't.
Okay.
No, this was one of his concerts. But fortunately, I just got the opportunity to get up and talk to him for a few minutes.
Oh.
It was just one of those situations where I was close enough to the stage that it worked out.
Yeah. King of the Blues.
King of the
Nobody
Blues,
like B.B. King.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, you were born and raised in Arkansas, correct? Did your family
No, I
moved
was
around?
born and raised in Gary, Indiana. My mother and father were born in Arkansas.
Gotcha. Okay.
Fordyce, Arkansas.
Yeah.
And So they moved to up around in the Gary, Indiana area.
Okay. And they were part of that black migration of people
Part of that
from the
migration
south up
coming
to
up.
going north for
Right.
better opportunities.
Yeah. And that's why I wrote a song. It's called "Didn't Have to Be Born in Mississippi to Play the Blues," because having been raised by people that already lived in the South and in Arkansas, they just brought all that stuff right up to Chicago with them.
Yeah.
So it was like I was already bathed in it anyway. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
You mentioned your parents were musicians. I take it music was in the house a lot?
Yeah, my mother was a piano player. My father played guitar. So mainly there was a church thing, you know, raised in the church, playing that type of music. And but that's how I got it. I have 5 brothers and 4 sisters, so we are basically a choir.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot.
It was
yeah.
built in, so my mother taught us to sing and harmonize and from a very young age. So she's passed on now, but she left a lot behind for her children to learn from.
Yeah. So would y'all sing in church? The family would sing in church?
Yeah, we had a regular group. We didn't really have a name. They just sort of called us the Brown Singers.
All right.
So, but yeah, we sang at various different churches around through the city.
Cool.
We were known pretty good in that circuit.
Yeah. When did you start to step out on your own?
That was sort of like 1981 when I moved away from the Chicago area. I moved to Houston. Started to meet a lot of different people, and just it just sort of evolved from pop music, funk, and that type of thing into blues, where I kind of found myself most comfortable.
Okay.
So that's pretty much. I'm not really strictly tied into any one type of music, but the blues is pretty much where I start out at.
Yeah.
It's so tied in with gospel anyway. It's sort of like I used to tell my mother that all you're doing is playing blues. I could sing a blues song right to her piano playing, and she wouldn't even know it.
Okay.
Because it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It all came out of the same roots.
Yeah. Did you catch any flack for playing the blues? Because some people in gospel call the blues the devil's music.
Yeah, that was sort of like that in the beginning, but she wouldn't call it the devil's music, but she would just say, well, you need to be playing in the church.
Yeah.
You don't need to be playing in the clubs.
Yeah.
In fact, I had one opportunity to play with the James Brown Review.
Oh, my goodness.
He came to town. He was looking for young kids to be on his review.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody approached my mother about me being on it. And she said, no, I don't want my son to get involved in that. So I might have missed the opportunity on that one. But anyway.
How old were you at the time?
I was about 13 then.
Wow. Oh, okay.
I just started playing kind of on my own.
Yeah.
My father did not play, he did not tune the guitar in standard tuning. In other words, it was more like just a major chord when you strum it. Mm-hmm. And if you want to change keys, they have this thing called a capo. You put the capo on the guitar. You might have seen that on.
Okay. Yeah.
People put a clamp on the guitar neck.
Yeah.
And but later on, I learned how to really tune the guitar the correct way, and sort of like had to relearn the guitar all over again. So
yeah.
And I'm still learning things every day.
Still learning.
Yeah. It's a never-ending process.
Yeah. So what was it about the blues in your mind? Said, I want to do that. That's the direction I want to go.
Well, it's just more about a feeling, really. It's an expressive type of music, and it gives me a lot of opportunity to just really express the way I'm feeling about it. Hmm? It's a spiritual type of a feeling. So, like I said, I'm not locked into blues in the strictest sense of the word, but that's why I tend to center around.
Yeah. That's awesome. Now, what brought you to Houston? You mentioned you're moving.
Well, I was working for General Electric at that time, and things were going kind of sour as far as the job market in Chicago, and they offered me an opportunity to move to Houston. So I took it.
Okay.
And so that was 1981.
Yeah.
So that's how I got to Houston. And from that point on, like I say, it was just a matter of meeting up with different people and going to some jam sessions, meeting musicians, and taking off from there.
Okay. Tell me a little about those jam sessions in Houston. Sound like there's an important part of your career there.
Well, at that time there was quite a few jam sessions, but one in particular was at this place called Dan Electro's Guitar Bar.
Okay.
Every Thursday night they would have really good players show up.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot from going to those jam sessions. You don't find you still find jam sessions today, but in those days, I mean, they were the really good players that would show up.
Yeah.
And you could really learn a lot, not only musically, but how to conduct yourself as a professional, play with other musicians,
Yeah.
and that type of thing.
Yeah. Interesting. Are those jams still going on, or anything close to them?
Yeah, the jams are still going on. You can find a jam session probably 2 or 3 nights a week in Houston. But I would say the caliber of musicians wouldn't be the same as it used to be.
Okay.
So these are probably guys starting out just wanting to get on stage and play, which is okay. It's the way you learn. But in those days, these guys were pros. I mean, these were guys that could read music and everything, and
Yeah.
they knew what they were doing.
Yeah. Yeah. But you got to kind of earn your chops.
Yeah.
Learn.
Yeah, you get out of line, some older guys have been around, they tell you, you're overplaying, or you need to not solo through the entire song and things like that. You learn.
Yeah.
You get bumped around a little bit,
Yeah.
bumped into shape.
Yeah. Wow, interesting. Tell me about the Houston music scene. I live not far from here, but I have relatives in the Houston area, and some of the Zydeco music from here has gone there. But how's the music scene in Houston?
Right now, when I moved to Houston in '81, it was like a blues mecca. I mean, there were so many artists, but they all had some place to play. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of clubs, juke joints, and things like that available to keep people working. But of course, after especially like COVID, mm-hmm. that shut a lot of clubs down.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of musicians. So now it's just sort of what I would just call a skeleton of what was. Yeah. But there's plenty of organizations still trying to keep the music alive, like the Houston Blues Society, which I was on the board of that at one time. And they also have a jam session every last Thursday of the month.
Okay.
Which they have a hosting band.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm the next one up to do that when I get back to Houston this Thursday. I'll be hosting that jam for the Blues Society.
So people can come up and play with your band at the jam?
We'll play a set,
okay.
and then we'll open it up to people that want to come up and jam. And if they need a drummer or they need some assistance, then one of our band members will help them out.
Yeah. Well, that's great. What's kind of concerning, though, with not that network of jams like it used to be, what happens with the next generation? Where do they go? What do they do?
Well, that's one goal of the Houston Blues Society is to keep the youth involved.
Okay, great.
Every year we have a youth band that prepares to go to Memphis. I'm not sure if you know about the International Blues Talent Competition that's held every year in Memphis.
No, I have heard about it, yes.
Okay, that's been going on for several years now. I was the first one to go to Memphis from Houston when they formed the Houston Blues Society.
Yeah.
At that time, there was, I can't remember exactly how many bands were in it at that time, but it really exploded now. You have people coming in from all over the world to compete.
Yeah.
So it's been a worthwhile thing.
That's great. So glad to hear that. So for somebody that's been doing this for decades, what do you tell the next generation as far as the blues?
Well, just don't be afraid to dive into it and learn as much as you can from the older guys. And if you make few mistakes here and there, don't get discouraged.
That's part of
Keep
learning.
going.
Part of learning, you got to make
Right.
those mistakes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So what's next for you, Mr. Brown? You mentioned about a lot of stuff coming up with the video and the album. No?
The video, the album, I'm pretty sure that once the video and the album are released, that we'll probably get some kind of little tour working out, and I'll have that information on my Facebook,
Okay.
Leonard Lowdown Brown. If you ever want to check it out and find out what's going on with me, you can pretty much find out
Great.
what's happening on my Facebook
Yeah.
page.
Yeah. How do you like Facebook and stuff like that? That wasn't around
Well,
when you started.
It wasn't, and I never really got involved with it. Somebody else decided that I needed a Facebook page.
That's where the people are.
So, I'm not that technically oriented to get off into that. So other people have taken the reins and really impressed me with what they've done. So
Yeah.
the information gets out.
Yeah.
It's a way to let everybody know what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned earlier the Music Makers Foundation. How did you get connected with them? How have they helped you?
Well, that was funny. I was recommended by someone. Well, Jennifer Weaver also sent some information to Music Makers, but I've had a few friends. Johnny Burgeon is one. You might know him. He goes by Rockin' Johnny Burgeon.
Okay.
But he recommended me for the Music Maker Foundation. And so Music Makers is all about helping people, especially older people, that really kind of get shut out or shut back and bring them forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
And push them up and give them an opportunity to be heard and be seen. And there were ones, like I say, behind the Colorado trip, and we went to Helena, Arkansas. Been here at Baton Rouge. So I've only been working with Music Maker for, I guess, a couple of years, but within that time we've done a lot of things,
Okay.
including Disney. Did a series for National Geographic,
Nice.
Disney.
Yeah.
So I did some background music for a series of documentaries and so forth that they put out.
Okay. That sounds some pretty nice gigs there. Yeah.
That's pretty high quality for just a old boy from Gary, Indiana.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Have those Disney gigs. That's cool. And you've been, how long have you and Sugar Harp been playing together?
Well, I've only known Sugar Harp for about a year or so, but
Okay.
Artie Dean, the guy over there with the white hat on and his head down, he's the chief water moccasin in charge here.
Okay.
He's the guy that coordinates us. He's the liaison for Music Maker, and he's holding everything together. So I'm sure he knows more than I do about where we're going, but according to him, they have a plan. So I'm just following the program, and
That's cool. That's
whatever's
cool.
next, we'll jump on it.
Now that name water moccasin. Water moccasins can be dangerous. Well, Mr. Brown, I always like to ask musicians, why do you do this? You've been doing this all your life. What does music mean to you?
Well, I am music. That's all. I would play music even if I didn't make a dime at it. I would still do it. So it's just something that's within me, and it's not like my daughter that I bought a clarinet for, and as soon as the band was over with, she was finished with it.
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah, So it's got to be something that's within you. It can't be pushed on you, But
Yeah.
the music is my life. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I've been around it all my life, and I'm pretty sure I will stick with it.
Great. That's fantastic. Anybody else in the family picking it up? You mentioned about the daughter finished with the clarinet, but anybody else?
Well, as far as my sisters and brothers,
Okay.
well, we were all either singers or musicians, the whole
Oh,
family, because
yeah.
that's just my mother was sort of like the coordinator of that,
Okay.
and she got us together and taught us to sing in harmony, and I don't know how she did it really. We were so young, but she did, and my sisters and brothers either played some instrument or they sang.
Okay.
One of the two.
Yeah.
So it was a musical family.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Mr. Brown, congratulations on your career and continuing that family legacy. It's nice to visit with you today here in Baton Rouge.
I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.